So that's really all I wanted to say to you. I know you've probably all got a number of questions for Mark and Martin, of course. But I do want to leave you with the thought that I am only one person in the solar industry advocating and lobbying on behalf of the industry, and I know that there are some other people, and equally the gentlemen sitting up there are only one person themselves and are doing what they can. I would encourage you all to take the opportunity to meet up with your own member of Parliament, be it federal or state, and say what's on your mind. The next 6 months is absolutely pivotal in terms of climate change policy formulation, and they need to know that the pressure is not necessarily just coming from paid lobbyists like myself, but coming from individuals like yourself that are interested in building a sustainable energy future for us all. Thank you.
My name is Andrew McLennan. Until recently I was working for an energy efficiency consulting firm. And Jeff, I'm actually looking for a job, so perhaps we should talk after this. But
you know we're taking commission on all commercial value.
Of course. I have two questions, but I think they're both quick. First one is, I know that with certainly rainfall patterns will be affected by climate change. Is that the case for wind? And if so, do we need to consider that in the future? And second question is, solar thermal, I think it was Mark or Martin, I can't remember which one, said that shouldn't be used in the next 5 years to 10 years in Australia? Or?
Oh, no.
Okay. Because my question was, I know that there's certainly some big installations going on in California, and I guess my real question is, why is that not happening in Australia? So, there you go.
Okay, Martin, do you want to handle wind first?
Yeah. Look, the honest answer is that we don't know what the long-term effect on wind will be of climate change. At the moment, all the way around the world, the owners of wind farms, the investors in wind farms, are comfortable enough that there will always be wind. I think the effect on rainfall is much better understood, more widely known, because we generally have more detailed, longer historical records of rainfall than we do of wind. People have really only started spending a lot of effort on measuring wind in the last 10, 15 years, say. And then wind varies with height above the ground, so just knowing wind 10 metres from a government weather station doesn't necessarily tell you the productivity of a wind farm. But I think that the wind's always going to be there, and there's no indication at the moment that climate change is causing average wind speeds to drop off. There may be an increase in strong winds, and particularly in those areas of the world that are susceptible in damaging storms and so on. In fact, that seems to be happening already. But the effect on average wind speeds is not clear and not concerning at the moment. But that's such a long way of saying I don't know. What was the second question? Solar thermal, I would never say not now. I just think knowing the people, we're trying to do it, we know half a dozen other people who are trying to do it. The cost is 3 times higher than wind. I completely fail to see how that means a big plant can get off the ground in the short term. I'm extremely optimistic that in the medium term, we or somebody else, or hopefully everybody, will be building large-scale solar thermal in Australia.
Anything to add briefly?
Well, just to add to that, yes, we are going to see a solar thermal power station, not a huge one, at Cloncurry. I think it'll be about 10 or 11 megawatts. And that should be up by 2010. We may see one near Whyalla using a different form of storage by about 2011 or 2012. There are particular places geographically where the economics of solar thermal may be better. Near the end of a grid, there is often an economic advantage having a generator at the end of a long radial line extending out into the country. So, there are areas like near Moree, for example, which is at the end of a line in New South Wales, which would have additional economic value because it was strengthening that line.
My name is Ron Kelly. I work in the School of Management at the University of Western Sydney. My question relates to the employment potential and also perhaps the need for retraining of people moving over from some of the older energy generating industries to the newer ones. Two of the people on the panel actually touched on this. I'm just wondering if you have any more thoughts on it, on this matter.
Employment potential of renewable energy is huge, several times that of the existing energy system, because as I indicated, we can make most of the components for most renewable energy systems in Australia. And in 2006, we already had 2 factories in Australia from Vestas, the world's largest wind turbine manufacturer, making wind turbine components, one in Tasmania and one in Victoria. When the tiny renewable energy target under the Howard government was reached in 2006, unfortunately both those factories had to close down. So the potential is huge, but in the early days we need to give the right incentives to get these industries up and running.
I would just add that in the solar industry, certainly over in Germany, there are around about 25,000 people actually employed in the industry today. It could in fact actually be a little bit more than that, but there are more people employed in the solar industry than there are in the coal industry over there.